Story 1. It Came Knocking. It was a stormy night, rain drumming relentlessly against the windows as if seeking refuge from the darkness outside. I found myself alone at home, the usual comforting hum of activity replaced by an eerie stillness. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating a disorienting dance of light and darkness that played tricks on my mind. As I settled on the couch, attempting to distract myself with a book, an unshakable feeling of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. The rain seemed to crescendo into a symphony of chaos, drowning out the rational part of my mind. I tried to brush off the uneasiness, blaming it on the storm, but there was something else, an inexplicable tension that gripped the air. I shook off my rising paranoia and headed to the kitchen, hoping to find solace in a warm cup of tea. Just as I was about to pour the boiling water, a series of soft knocks caught my attention. My heart skipped a beat, and I froze in place, straining to hear anything further. The knocks seemed to ride on the wind, rhythmic and deliberate, echoing through the empty house. I brushed it off as my imagination, chiding myself for letting the storm get the better of me. But then, a series of slow, deliberate knocks echoed through the hallway. Panic surged through me, and I gripped the kitchen counter, my knuckles turning white. I considered calling the police, but what would I tell them? That I heard knocking? Summoning a fragment of courage, I moved cautiously toward the hallway, my steps barely making a sound on the wooden floor. The shadows seemed to stretch and contort, taking on a sinister life of their own. The flickering of lightning only added to the disorienting effect, making it difficult to discern reality from imagination. I reached the end of the hallway, my heart pounding like a drum. The knocking continued, now more distinct but just out of reach of understanding. I followed the sound, my breath shallow and ragged. It led me to the closed door of the basement, its dark void beckoning like an abyss. With trembling hands, I slowly pushed the door open, the creaking hinges adding an extra layer of dread. A chilling gust of wind rushed up from the depths, carrying with it the haunting rhythm of the knocking. My heart raced as I descended the creaking stairs, each step taking me deeper into the unknown. As I reached the bottom, the knocking surrounded me, a relentless barrage that seemed to come from all directions. I strained to comprehend, my mind struggling to process the incomprehensible. Then, a figure materialized in the darkness, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to defy the laws of reality. Panic consumed me, and I turned to flee, but the door slammed shut with a finality that resonated with doom. Trapped in the depths of the basement, I was enveloped by the knocking, its relentless rhythm echoing in my ears. The shadows danced around me, and as my fear reached its zenith, the figure extended a hand towards me. The knocking grew louder, almost deafening, as if demanding something I couldn't comprehend. I closed my eyes, and then, with a sudden jolt, the knocking ceased, the shadows retreated, and the figure dissolved into the darkness. The door swung open, and I stumbled out into the blinding light of the hallway. The storm outside had subsided, and the house stood in silence once more. As the days passed, I couldn't shake off the lingering sense of dread. The echoing of the knocks haunted me, and I relived that fateful night over and over. I sought answers, delving into the history of the house, hoping to find an explanation for the inexplicable. What I discovered made my hair stand on end. The house had a dark history. It had been a place of secrets and tragedy, a place where echoes of the past lingered. The knocking, I learned, was a manifestation of the lingering presence of a lost soul, someone who had met a tragic end in those very walls. It can only be presumed that the figure I saw was but a glimpse into the realm between the living and the departed. To this day, I can't shake off the feeling that I was a mere breath away from something unimaginably sinister, a reality lurking just beyond the edge of perception. The sound of those echoing knocks haunts me, and I have learned that even within the safety of our homes, the unknown and the terrifying can find a way to breach our reality.
Story 2. There's something in here with me. The following is a tale that I experienced as a young man. It was a weekend like any other, or so I thought. My parents were headed out of town for a short trip, leaving me alone at home. I was a 14-year-old boy, and the idea of having the whole house to myself for a couple of days was incredibly exciting. My parents left on Friday morning, promising to be back by Sunday evening. As the sun dipped below the horizon on that first night alone, I settled into my bed with a feeling of independence and freedom. I immersed myself in a movie marathon, indulging in junk food and reveling in the sense of being in charge. Around midnight, my eyelids grew heavy, and I finally succumbed to sleep. A chill in the air awoke me. I blinked, disoriented, as I tried to make sense of my surroundings. Moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting a ghostly glow across my room. I could hear the wind rustling the leaves outside, and for a moment, I just lay there, wrapped in a cozy blanket of silence. But then, something caught my attention. A faint rustling sound, like footsteps on carpet, reached my ears. My heart began to race as I realized I wasn't alone. Fear clawed at my chest, paralyzing me. I strained my eyes in the darkness, and that's when I saw it. A shape, indistinct yet undeniably present, standing near the foot of my bed. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead as I stared at the creature. Its form was like something out of a nightmare, a contortion of something grotesque and hideous. Its eyes gleamed with an eerie, unnatural light. My mind raced, trying to come up with a rational explanation, but there was none that fit. This was no ordinary intruder. I summoned my courage and tried to speak, but my voice came out as a barely audible squeak. The creature didn't move, but I could feel its gaze fixed on me, penetrating into the depths of my soul. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run, to escape, but I was rooted to the bed, held captive by an inexplicable force. Then, the creature moved. It began to slink closer, its movements sinuous and otherworldly. Panic surged through me, a wild animal trapped in a corner. I reached for my phone, fingers fumbling in my haste. With trembling hands, I turned on the flashlight app, casting a beam of light into the darkness. The creature recoiled, as if the light itself was a weapon against it. The unearthly glow in its eyes wavered, and I could see it more clearly now, a twisted, nightmarish amalgamation of limbs and flesh. Its presence radiated malevolence, a force beyond my comprehension. I took a deep breath and mustered every ounce of courage I had left. With the flashlight fixed on the creature, I slowly edged towards the bedroom door. It seemed to grow more agitated, its movements jittery and unpredictable. As I reached the door, I bolted out of the room, my heart pounding like a drum. I didn't stop until I was outside, gasping for breath in the cold night air. The moon hung above, casting an ethereal glow on the landscape. The adrenaline rush began to ebb, and a cold realization settled in. My home, my sanctuary, had been invaded by something inexplicable, something that defied the laws of reality. Feeling utterly helpless and not knowing what else to do, I fled to a friend's house, desperation urging my pounding fists against his door. The sudden noise startled everyone in the house, but their concern quickly turned to sympathy as they recognized my distress. Without hesitation, they welcomed me in, providing a haven where I could stay until my parents returned home. The remainder of the weekend was a blur. I stayed with a friend, too terrified to return home until my parents did. When they finally arrived on Sunday evening, I recounted the horrifying experience to them. They exchanged worried glances, but offered little in the way of explanation. Years have gone by now, and the memory of that night still sends my heart into a pounding frenzy. I can never fully explain what I saw that night, but one thing that I believe for certain is that the darkness holds secrets, and sometimes, when you're alone and vulnerable, those secrets can come to visit, leaving you to grapple with the chilling reality that you are never truly alone in the dark. Thanks for tuning into another episode from the Alley of Nightmares. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Until next time.